Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Georgia from Georgia's Shenanigans. Today I'm going to show you how I make my mala bracelets, or some people call them yoga bracelets. They're, in some cultures, they're a religious item. Malas consist of 108 beads, but for bracelets you can use 54. So I've used 54 6mm beads on these. So this one is made from onyx, and these little spacer beads are an alloy bead. I've wire wrapped the focal bead. So the idea of a mala is when you're chanting to yourself or meditating, and it can be, you know, whatever you want to chant or want to say, you know, while you're meditating. Say to yourself, and you know, it'd be things like I am enough, or I don't know what people chant, but anyway, so your focal bead is where you start and it's where you end. So each time you chant, you move your fingers along the beads, and when you get to a spacer, then you know you've done 6, and then you keep moving along your beads, and then you get to a spacer, you know you've done 12. And you go right around, and the idea is you don't go past the focal bead, because then you're at your end. But obviously, if you're chanting as they do in some religions, you need to do it 108 times. So then you would go around again. But anyway, I don't make these for religious reasons. I make them just because I like them. They're quite popular, and they look really nice on. I'll put one on and show you. So this one's actually a little bit small for me, but yeah, that's basically how they look. And your little bead dangles at the bottom there. But yeah, they're just a doubled over bracelet, so it looks like you've got 2 bracelets on. I think this one's actually a little bit bigger. It might fit me better. Yeah, so you can have them like so that they cross over like that at the top, or you can have the crossover at underneath. You can have your focal bead hanging off your wrist like that. It's entirely up to you how you like to wear them. But, you know, I think stretch bracelets are just the bomb. They're the best thing. They're so easy to take on and off. You don't need help. And, yeah, I love them. I've got 2 that I wear all the time. I've got my coin charm bracelet, and then these 2. This one's a rainbow tourmaline, and then this one's a mix of Chalcedonian hematite. But I have them on all the time, and these ones I've been wearing them for I don't know, 3 or 4 months probably, and I leave them on all the time. Shower, sleeping, swimming, in the hot tub, the whole lot. I leave them on, and yeah, they're as good as the day I made them. But anyway, this one here is a cellulite one. That blue one was a blue apatite. And the focal bead, I just made it up of a 8mm. No, it might be a 10mm, I think, that one. And a bead cap and another small bead as well. That one's attached to a bail bead, which the one we're making today is going to be attached to a bail bead as well. So this one's a cellulite one. I love the cellulite. It's such a nice, vibrant purple. And it's got a ceramic bead that I've just put together with a head pin and attached it to a bail on the elastic. So yeah, so I'll show you how to make these. They're really easy. Like, you need virtually no tools apart from a pair of scissors. You need some elastic, you need some beads, some spacers, and you need your focal. Now for this one, I'm not going to use a bead for the focal. I'm going to just use a little ankh, which is an Egyptian religious symbol. It's a stainless steel ankh. I think they're really cute. You need something to thread your beads. I always use just a piece of tiger tail folded over. You'll need a bead stopper, and I will show you how to put it all together. So you want some elastic. You want a reasonable amount, because obviously these are longer than a regular bracelet. So let's see. I always end up with too much elastic, but anyway. So I've got probably about 3 feet of elastic. It's 0.6 millimetre, so it's going to be doubled, so it's equivalent to 1.2. But always with your elastic, pre-stretch it, give it a good pull. Now this not only stops you from ending up with gaps in your beads after you've worn your bracelet a few times, but it will also reveal any weaknesses in the elastic. Like quite often when I'm stretching my elastic and it'll just snap. So you've found a weakness, a flaw in the elastic. And yeah, you don't want a flaw to break when you're wearing your bracelet. So just go backwards and forwards a couple of times, giving it a good stretch. So we're going to end up now with about 4 feet of elastic, where we started with 3. But yeah, if you don't pre-stretch, then you're going to end up with gaps in your bracelet, which really isn't a good look. So once we've stretched it, pop your ends together, pop on a bead stopper, and then on the other end, get your piece of wire, pop it on. So that's what we're going to use to thread. So now obviously we want our spaces to be spaced evenly along the elastic. So we've got 54 beads. So if we go 6 in each section, that'll give us a total of 9 sections, which is good. That's what we want. Now we want our knot to hide in the bail. So we start by threading on the bail. And then we start threading on our beads. So we do 6, and then we do one of our spaces, and then another 6, and then another spacer, all the way around. And we do that 9 times. So I'll go ahead and probably just fast forward this and get all the beads on, and then I'll come back and show you how to finish it off. It's really, really easy. There's an art to tying the knots, because you don't want them, number 1, you don't want them to be visible, and number 2, you don't want them to come undone. So I'll show you how I tie my knots on my bracelets, and I'll be right back in a moment. Okay, so I've strung all the beads on. So we've just got our bail bead to begin with, 6 beads, a spacer, 6 beads, a spacer, and so on, all the way up to the end. Now, you could choose to have a spacer on either side of your bail as well if you wanted to. I don't. I don't need to. you've got to be careful because you don't want it to end up being too long. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too short either. So just the beads on their own with a small spacer, like this one has just got little daisy spacers, but I had to put 2 larger beads at the end because, yeah, it wasn't quite long enough. So it's a bit of a, a trick to getting it the length that you want. But once you get it to this point, you can, of course, try it on your wrist. So it's got to wrap around twice. So you can see that this is going to be perfect for me. I've got pretty much an average wrist. Someone with a small wrist, though, it would be too big. So to tie the knot, remove your needle from your end. Now this is why I use a piece of tiger tail, is because if you could use a big eye needle or something like that, but then how are you going to get it off? You would have to either break the elastic or break the needle. So take your bead stopper off, and what we want to do is we want to put the 2 ends through this loop. So we just pop it on like that. Now you'll have to kind of finagle it a bit and make sure that nothing gets caught up, like the little thing here is caught up. Make sure you've got no gaps in your beads, and you don't want to pull it too tight either because it's just putting stress constantly on the elastic, and it'll fail eventually if you have too much stress on it. A little bit of stress is fine, but so long as your beads, there's no gaps and they're still quite pliable, then you're okay. But anyway, so pull that up to that point like that. Now what I want to do is separate the tails, and I'm going to put them back through the bracelet. So this one to that side and this one to this side. Making sure that nothing's caught up in there, and then just tie a regular knot like that, nice and tight. Then put them through the bracelet again, and I'll show you in a minute what this does and why, which will explain why I do it this way. Do a surgeon's knot now. Give it a good pull. And obviously you don't want to pull it too hard because you don't want to break it. Swap them around again. Do a regular knot. Swap them again. Do a surgeon's knot, which is just going around twice. And one more time, but this time I do a surgeon's knot on both. So effectively you've done 6 knots. This is how I always do my stretch bracelets, and I haven't had a knot yet that's come undone, not ever, even once. Oh, I didn't do a surgeon's knot. Talking and not thinking, so I'll just tie another one, that's fine. Okay, now the whole reason that I swap them around to the back is if you have a look at the knot, see how it's nice and flat? They're not all built up on top of each other. So that makes them so much easier to hide. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to hide them in these little beads. That's why I've chosen to put it in the bail bead. So now you just want to cut off your ends. Now, you don't want to cut them off right at the knot, but close to it. And it just automatically slips into the bail. Now you can, if you want to, just for some extra security, grab yourself some glue. Sometimes I glue them, sometimes I don't. Just expose your knot for a minute. Squeeze a bit of glue onto it. The glue's not going to stay stuck to the bail, but the knot, it can't really move anywhere anyway because it can't go past the beads on either side. So it's not going to end up, you know, down here somewhere if you don't glue it or whatever. It's going to stay where it is. And that's it. So there we have a really, really cute mala bead. I don't think I mentioned that these beads, mala bracelet. I don't think I mentioned that these beads are actually called rose red chalcedony. They're not really red. They're more of a pinkish, purplish colour, but they're a chalcedony stone. You can usually tell chalcedony because they've got like that cloudy kind of look about them, whereas like this one, the sugulite one, it's not cloudy, it's quite solid. The same with the onyx. The blue apatite, they tend to have a bit of a cloudy look as well. But yeah, this one is a chalcedony stone. I really like chalcedony stones because they've got that cloudy kind of appearance and they look more natural. Whereas, you know, the ones that are more solid, like the sugulite and the amethyst, the onyx, well, they still look nice. They're, they don't have sort of the depth, I guess, that the cloudier kind of beads do. But anyway, that's just my take on the whole thing. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love for you to try and make one yourself and let me know how you go, and I'd even love to see photos of it. They're so easy, and they're the sort of thing that you could even do with your kids, you know, on holidays or whatever. It's just, they're just so easy. So anyway, I hope you all have a really nice day. It's spring here in Australia, so it's shaping up to be a lovely day. It's clear blue skies, so I think it's going to get to around 20 degrees C today, which is just a nice temperature to not be cold and not be hot, which is great. I love spring. It's the best time of year. And where I live, it's there's a lot of farms around our town that have fields and fields of crops, and there's a lot of wheat and canola and fava bean and stuff like that. So the canola is beautiful. It comes out in these yellow flowers and just yellow flowers for miles. It's really lovely. They're just about finished now for this year, but while they last, they're beautiful. But anywho, I hope you have a great day. If you could like and subscribe, I'd be ecstatic, and I'd love to hear your comments. So have a nice day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks very much.